Hey everyone, Sean here, and welcome to another movie review. I finally took the time and sat down and watched the Super Mario Brothers movie. I know I'm like super late to the party. It's been let me check the year actually to see how long it's been. Okay, so wow, April 5th, 2023 is when it first released. So pretty much 2 years and 2 years late to the party. But there were reasons like not just being quite comfortable sitting in a theater with people at the time during the whole COVID conundrum and such. But nowadays I go to the theater, during the latest showing and no one's around, so that's like my optimal sort of way to enjoy these movies in theaters nowadays. So I kind of figure out my little movie routine. But that being said, back to here with Super Mario Brothers. I was able to just watch this on Amazon Prime, and I think honestly that was the move for me. I'm glad I was able to do that because if I were to watch this in theaters, I would have come out of the theater a little disappointed. I really wanted to like this movie. I do have mixed feelings for this, which is kind of a sort of that. It seems like a pretty common theme here, or a common thought amongst viewers and watchers. For everyone who watched this movie, whether you watched it in the theater or not. A lot of people watch it on Netflix, whatever streaming platform, I guess, and they kind of had similar thoughts after watching the movie and such. And I actually, went ahead and checked out the comments just to see if I'm like, if my feelings were invalidated somehow. But if I got anything wrong or anything like that. But no, I think it's pretty much spot on. Very mixed. But let's just talk about what I liked about the movie for Super Mario Brothers. Of course, I think the biggest appeal for this movie is the visuals, the CGI. Illumination did a very fine job, crafting this movie from the visual side of things. I think the colors were very bright. I think they replicated the Mario game pieces, if you will, very, very with such craftsmanship. I know that sounds like a pretentious word to describe it, but it just looks really good. I think it was faithfully recreated from that sense, and the sounds and everything that really added up to that sort of authentic feeling of a movie or theatrical recreation of these elements that you really see in these Mario games. The blocks, the question marks or question blocks, the mushroom stuff, and the power ups, of course. This is just like the pieces and just like everything, almost everything around it, right? Especially during the blocks, the blocky sequences and such, were it felt like very faithful to the product that's based off of, which is of course the Super Mario franchise. I think though, unfortunately, that's really all it has. I maybe there are a couple of other points that are good for this movie, but it's I think really the strongest point is the visuals, the set design, and the environment design, and I guess you could say the character design. That's a little hard to screw up since it's already kind of crafted there for you. But let's just say the illuminationification, if that makes sense. How they design these Mario characters was pretty faithful as well. There are some tweaks. Obviously, Bowser looked like Bowser pretty much. I think Bowser's the most like least like modified, whereas you see someone like Donkey Kong is very noticeably different looking, and in fact, I felt like the latest design for Donkey Kong with their latest change, right, is very much seemingly inspired from the movie version, this movie version of Donkey Kong. And even Diddy Kong has gone through a little bit of a change, and it's kind of a somewhat controversial because of the eye dividing line thing that he has. Is very off-putting for right now. I don't know if I agree with that, but anyway, putting that aside, obviously there's differences with Mario and Luigi with their eyes and such like that. Peach, a little bit of a mixed bag for me because you have this very cartoony character, but has a very realistic elements to her, including the nose. So it was kind of like putting me in and out, to be honest, especially when you have certain angles on Peach, with the nose and everything. So a little weird, but I gotten used to it. But at some point, this is a movie by Illumination, so I guess it can't be helped too much. But the toads, of course, the not toads, the toads or toadettes, whatever you want to call them, that they were pretty much pretty 1-to-1 almost, along with Bowser. Along with the Koopa Troopas and the Bullet Bills and the Goombas, I guess, pretty close as well. And even at some point, the Yoshis were pretty faithful, right? Well, even though yes, there was a background cameos of the Yoshis, right? So oh yeah, and I almost forgot to mention. I'm not sure if I'm really going to go super deep into the spoilers, and I think that's saying something because the I think like what was I about to say, like the design is all right. Some of the music choices were all right too, but not entirely like great because they do use the real songs. But and even then, though, the choices on those real songs were kind of like what, during the jungle stuff, they could have literally used "Welcome to the Jungle." That could have honestly have been really cool to have Mario and Guns N' Roses, in one screen essentially, because I like Guns N' Roses first off. But anyway, biases aside, I think it's just a clearer choice. But they went with something like Aha, Take on Me, which is also a great classic and all, but it's just, I don't know. I think Guns N' Roses could have been a better choice in this specific instance, or especially like the the sequence with one of the Kongs taking Mario and Peach to the king, that part literally could have been Welcome to the Jungle. It's just so appropriate on several levels. But Take on Me, I don't know why, other than the fact that maybe the dude looks 80s-ish. I don't know. I have no idea. But anyway, oh yeah, the other characters like Cranky and all that other stuff, also pretty faithful for the most part. When it comes to like the original or newer characters like Mario's family or Mario and Luigi's family, I think it's pretty cute. I think it's pretty cool to see what it's like for their take of Mario and Luigi's parents. We never get to see Mario and Luigi's parents ever in a video game, so it's kind of nice to see what is it like a what if you will, but it's like almost brought to life on the movie screen. And maybe, yeah, I mean, the next time we see a major Mario release on the Switch 2 or something, maybe we can actually take a visit to Mario and Luigi's parents, their family and such. And maybe they'll take a lot of inspiration from the Illumination side of things. Who knows? But it's nice to see, nonetheless. And then the rest of the characters were, either I felt indifferent or kind of whatever. I think there really was not much to go off of else, if that makes sense. When it comes to the newer character designs, or a little more on the original character designs. Otherwise, most of those original designs are essentially NPCs slash side characters or extras, even. So maybe it would have been cool to see an actual movie original character, maybe for like a sequel or something, or even like the sequel after that one. That I don't know, but anyway, the shortcomings is very apparent for this movie, is what I was trying to say here. Especially with that little bit on the spoiler part, because overall, I think to sum it up here, I guess in this one sentence, perhaps while it does celebrate Nintendo in a way, right? With obviously with Super Mario Brothers, you have the faithful stuff, and you get to see a lot of these references, yes, but everything else just felt very flat. The actual storyline, the dialogue, the humor, a lot of these other important elements for a movie felt pretty flat. I think they really took a very sterile, I don't know, I mean, route. Doesn't really explore much. They're just very straight by the numbers. I think the only like super interesting parts were, funny enough, the times when Mario and Luigi were together. And I think the beginning can say that. Like, I think the beginning was the most interesting to see what it's like for Mario and Luigi to hang out with each other overall. But sadly, of course, as seen in the trailer, Luigi is essentially the damsel in distress in this story here. And with that, for most of the movie, they're separated, and it's just pretty disappointing to see that. And of course, it's like this for most of the movie, so it's kind of a robbery that this debut movie of Super Mario Brothers, it's you don't really get to see the Mario Brothers, so to say. Of course, the Mario Brothers is, I mean, yeah, that's the name of the pair and all, and that's, I guess, also the name of their plumbing business, but you don't really get to see them together all that much. It's just the beginning and the end. Everything else in the middle, that's where it honestly kind of falls apart, because you only get to see a little bit of these characters, right? Like including Bowser, which I'm going to be honest, I think Bowser was great. I think he stole the show in a number of ways, especially with Jack Black behind the mic, right, as Bowser. I think as much as people do get annoyed by his frequent appearances in a number of these movies nowadays, especially with Minecraft and all that stuff, but his performance as Bowser was very convincing, I thought. He put on a great voice for Bowser. Yes, there were the Jack Black moments, like the singing and stuff like that. And the song itself is like, okay, we get it. They try to make it funny by just doing it so many times. And the peaches, that part is just like, okay, we get it. Like, you're in love with her. You're essentially a simp for her, and you want to marry her by force. But other than that, I think his presence was welcoming, despite the flatness of this movie. And whenever he went into action with his bravado and his fire, and him walking, just stomping over at least one kingdom that we get to see, especially with the Penguin Kingdom thing, was pretty cool. But that's really the only thing we get to see in the movie, and that's what we saw in the trailer. So you could say the trailer of itself is actually the best way to, or not the best way, but that's like, it essentially sums up the movie almost. All the good parts you saw from the trailer, it is already shown in the trailer in a way. So yeah, you had Bowser taking over the Frozen whatever castle, and then the Mario Kart scene, and and all the hoops and ladders and all that fun stuff. That's oh yeah, then the Donkey Kong fight, like yeah, those were the major scenes. Besides the ending or the climactic battle not being shown, of course, right? But that's essentially it, and that's just disappointing in a sense. It just sucks that it fell into the trend of these movie trailers just showing way too much and not doing a good job like enticing the viewers or potential viewers to come go watch the movie without showing off everything and not being clever about it. Because that's probably like the easiest way. It's the shortcut to selling a product to a customer. So I wanted to talk about more of the characters individually. So Mario and Luigi, obviously. So let's just start with Luigi. Luigi is like, the nicer of the two. I mean, not that Mario is mean or anything, but Luigi tends to be a little more like passive. He gives off a little bit of the pushover vibes. And then of course Mario comes in to protect him, right? I think he is the older. He is the older brother after all, despite him being a little shorter than Luigi. But Luigi being the younger brother and all, he tends to kind of have Mario to leverage him to get through stuff, right? At least Luigi wasn't as much of a pushover, especially by the end of the movie. But besides the fact that, well, he is the damsel in distress, he puts up a fight and actually protects his brother at one point. So that was really cool, to see that this guy or this Luigi isn't a complete pushover, which you kind of see often in the video games for whatever reason. It's just like, okay, we get it. He's a bit of a a fraidy cat and doesn't quite put up the dukes as quickly as someone like Mario. And at least here, though, we kind of get to see that, which is nice. And and I guess you could argue that makes for a perfect sort of premise, you could say, for Luigi's Mansion. That's why Luigi's Mansion happened, because he's such a fraidy cat. But shit, I mean, it's just nice to see the progression, I guess you could say, at for these types of characters, especially with Luigi. I think one of the most problematic characters, and funny enough, here is Peach. I think Peach here was too flawless. I think she was too much of a Mary Sue, which basically is, yes, a character who has little to no flaws here, and that is essentially Peach. She is the sort of the by the numbers a definition of a Mary Sue. Like, doesn't even like there are very little moments where she actually like fumbles or shows that damsel in distress sort of nature to the Peach that we're used to. I mean, it is not to say that her putting up a fight isn't bad or by any means, but it's just the way it's written. I think the way it's executed, it just felt way too much. I think there could have been a fine balance to it for this Peach, for her to be both a Mary Sue, but also be believably, I guess you could say, more like the Peach that we're used to. They could have been there could have been this perfect balance for that, but that didn't happen here. It did not happen here, unfortunately, and the Peach that we got here just like was able to plow through 95% of the obstacles besides Bowser. There was a sequence where Peach just looked like she was whooping Bowser, with the Ice Peach powers, and it just seems like they intentionally made the stereotype of the strong independent woman sort of stereotype that we are seeing nowadays in this part of the decade. And I think they executed this subparly, in my opinion. Rather having to try to like make a little more of a believable character, at least have some sort of fumbles and such like that. They just she just essentially was able to do the training course right. Like she's just like this natural born like athlete, just like that, just like that sports jock, right? Just great at everything, smart in classes, and I don't know. Those are the vibes I got from this Peach. They even made a joke that like Peach was trying to make Mario feel better, because of course he failed the training course that many times, and of course it is implied that Peach did it in like the first time, in her first time. It's just doesn't really didn't even show like her training course or just how she did it, or you're just led to believe that Peach essentially is just naturally talented for some reason. I don't know. I think it just didn't work quite well here, just because this is just too early. I think this Peach should have progressively have been turned into the what do you call it, the woman, the girl boss. I think she could have achieved that, and that could have been a cool way, and that could have been a little more believable. But she kind of falls into the same category as someone like Rey from Star Wars. Just somehow was able to just get these powers and such like that in Star Wars. But for Peach here, she already has these abilities. She already knows all this stuff. I mean, yeah, you could say maybe she has this vast experience. She has more years in this world than Mario does in this world. Which, by the way, yes, it's isekai, for those who are familiar with the term. But Mario is, the fish out of water. He's learning these ropes type of character. And yes, Peach is the master. She is this ultimate badass that we are led to believe with this movie. But again, the difference is that the writing is just so by the numbers and very flat, just doesn't really do a whole lot to make these characters that much more endearing or enjoyable. It's just kind of like, hey, these characters are supposed to be enjoyable, whereas good movies tend to take their time. They write these stories out, and then you are put into the position of believing whether or not these characters are good. And it's just kind of just like, okay, this happened, this happened, this happened, and that happened. You don't really get to have a time to breathe. You don't really get to see the world, even though the world itself is supposed to be beautiful and such like that. It's kind of a waste, since Illumination put their time to designing this world being cool looking and all, but we have to get through the story, right? We have to get to this scene or that scene, and yeah, and it does. And along the way, like I wasn't even laughing that much. I was kind of like smirking a little bit here and there, because yeah, it's like a lot of these references, a lot of member berries, like, hey, remember this? Oh, you should know this, right? You're a Nintendo fan, that type of kind of in your face with the references. That's just something I've noticed throughout the movie as I was watching it. So we talked about Peach, Bowser. They didn't get enough of him. He likes Peach that much, but just didn't do a whole lot enough. I did notice. Okay, there's one of the things I did notice or didn't even realize, that one of his henchmen, Kamek, was voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, who tends to have a freaking deep voice, but he put on like that Igor voice, right? Whoever the assistant to Dr. Frankenstein is. pretty funny. He's like, "Yes, master." That type of voice, like I didn't even know until I looked it up. It's crazy. It's crazy that someone like him was able to pull that off. I didn't even know. That's pretty cool that he can do that. So it's amazing to see when voice actors have multiple ranges in such ways. It's pretty cool. That's always that kind of is that's always something that gets me a little giddy, right? In this type of media. Donkey Kong, however, like uh, um, it's Seth Rogen. Luckily, he only does the laugh once, and it's not even like that long, so I guess it was okay. But still, could it have been somebody else? Absolutely, but like yeah, it fits. You know, um, did he do Donkey Kong justice? Ah, you know, it's just him. Again, once again, and sometimes Seth Rogen being Seth Rogen works for a number of characters, like Alan the Alien from Invincible. I actually like that for some reason on Alan better than here with Donkey Kong. Maybe it's just my personal bias or something. I don't know. It is for some reason for me, as much as I was trying to keep an open mind, I just did not come to completely like this pick. Yes, though he is a celebrity, it's that popular voice, and in some ways, yes, it does fit Donkey Kong, but I'd rather hear somebody else trying to take up the mantle of Donkey Kong. But was it objectively bad? No, not really, but definitely not likable either in some degrees. Now, more on the voices, I think Charlie Day did pretty good with Luigi, but again, we didn't really get to see Luigi all that much because of what happens to him. So we don't really get that much with Charlie Day having his time with Luigi all that much, unfortunately. They didn't really get to have that time to really get the snowball rolling, if you will. Funny thing here, I honestly forgot that Chris Pratt is the voice of Mario. And I remember when the whole news about who's voicing Mario, right? It's Chris Pratt. That whole thing was like a big, thing to talk about amongst video game fans and people making fun of him, like, oh, what's he actually going to sound like, and and people were like, yeah, hey, it's me and Mario, especially with Yang, yeah, which is kind of ironic because he's not the most likable choice for someone like Kazuma Kiryu, and that whole thing is a separate story. But anywho, Chris Pratt as Mario, I thought it was all right. There was nothing wrong with it. I thought it was good. I thought it was good enough for what it was. I didn't hate it, nor I didn't like love it. It's passable. It works, and I'm glad that it wasn't like what a lot of people were memeing about in the past. I think it's just all right for overall for Mario's voice here. They did play a lot of the Italian American stuff. Yes, at one point they even did the voice, like, wahoo, and all that stuff. It's a me, and that typical Mario stuff, and Luigi as well. But that was during like the commercial portion of the Super Mario Brothers plumbing business, and I thought it was pretty cute. Actually thought that whole bit was very charming. It's just something about it that had the start of a heartfelt journey in a way. It's hard to explain, but I felt like some magic was going, and then as soon as they separate and you don't really get to see Mario and Luigi together anymore, that's when they sort of dropped the ball. I think they should have went through this more of the journey together, right? But that's just me. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. And then there was Toad, of course, being played by Keegan Michael Key, I think his name is. I thought also that was all right. I didn't hate it, but I'm not like glazing over this particular performance either. What was actually kind of cool though, that the original voice actor for Mario and Luigi and such other characters like Wario and Waluigi, they or Charles Martinet, excuse me, voiced not only the father or dad, he voiced the original Mario, so to say, like the original OG design Mario in the movie. So that was pretty cool. That was actually a nice little touch. So I think overall the voices they were all right. I mean, as much as a lot of people's eyes were kind of rolling, I felt when they announced these picks, especially with Chris Pratt and all, and oh yeah, and then Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. It's like a very typical pick. It's just that popular pick, if you will. But not they didn't really try to hire actual voice actors to get in these roles. They just had to pick a lot of these celebrities, right, right. But that being said, though, people like Charlie Day, excuse me, was pretty good as Luigi. I definitely bought it. Jack Black as Bowser also bought it. So I think those two honestly were the best parts for the voices specifically. Well, when it comes to the overall personalities and such like that for these characters, a lot of them hit these similar notes, especially when they're trying to pull off the humorous stuff. I don't know. There's just something about the writing and just this flat storytelling that made a lot of these characters, if not all of them, kind of more or less the same-ish. I mean, obviously there are sort of like the very apparent personality traits, but other than that, like just something about maybe the dialogue or just again the writing didn't really add the depth to any of these characters, so they all kind of wound up like on the same playing field, if that makes sense. It just all felt very flat, just like the rest of the storytelling. Doesn't really explore each of the characters. No, not much depth for one another. Not too much dynamics either when they're together. Like Mario and Peach, it was very straightforward. It's just really, it didn't really try anything. It didn't really challenge too much. It seemed like it really tried to rely on the look of the movie and just like, hey, remember this, remember that. Hey, this Mario thing. Look at this Mario thing. Look at that Mario thing. Oh, here's the raccoon power up. Oh, here's the Peach or the cat suit. Oh, here's the fireball one. And that's what it felt like the movie was really trying to rely on, is these other elements, but not the actual filling of this sandwich here, the meat. And okay, I do admit there was this Luma. I guess it was named Luma Lee. It's the blue star. It was like very like senile, nihilistic, right? That one kind of put a little smile on my face. It really plays along with like that child voice, but it's like, I want to see the world burn kind of vibes. Kind of funny. It does work, but yeah, okay, I can kind of see why some people did not like that. It's just, I don't know, or at least felt indifferent about it. But yeah, other than that, it just glosses over a lot of things. Even though this could have made these characters look or feel cool and more endearing and such like that. It doesn't really explore a whole lot, even though this movie really kind of like exudes exploration, literally and figuratively. I hope you understand what I mean here. So I think honestly that's like all the major things I wanted to talk about. So to kind of like sum up my thoughts about the movie, this felt like a very corporate love letter featuring the Super Mario franchise, if that makes sense. I get sort of like the similar vibes when the official Twitter accounts of these like companies like Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft, for example, put out these like, oh, we love the fans. Oh, we are passionate to bring these games to you, the audience, and it kind of felt like that with this movie here. That's the vibes I felt, because of like the whole finger pointing, like, oh, hey, look at this, hey, look at that, oh, it's a look, it's a Mario, oh, hey, look, it's a Luigi, oh, look, it's Peach, and oh, look, this is supposed to be funny. Oh, look at Donkey Kong whooping his ass. I don't know. It's a lot of look here, look here, look here, but not a whole lot of actual movie. Not a whole lot of exploration of these characters and such like that. It's all in all, it's not only that corporate-ish, soulless love letter to the people watching it, including people like myself and the kids that are watching it. It just felt like a kids movie, and that's about it. It does the objective of being a kids movie. Kids will like it, like they'll point and laugh, like, ah, ha, ha. But look, it's very colorful, and oh, look, Rainbow Road here, and Mario Kart, boom boom. It's just, I don't know. It just doesn't really come together as much as I wanted to really like this film, because it's Nintendo. This is something I grew up with as up to this point, a 30s plus guy, 30s plus year old guy who had a Nintendo N64 as his first console in the house. Like, and of course, the first game with it was Super Mario 64, man. And of course I did play Super Mario on the NES and Super NES, whatever, right, at a friend's house or whatever. But the N64 was the first console in this house, and of course Super Mario 64 was like my jam. Like, of course it's the 3D Mario and all, but that was my first 3D Mario game, and that's how I became familiar with the Mario franchise in the first place. Yeah, I mean, some Easter eggs were cute here and there, admittedly, especially with how Bowser was walking into the very first scene, like how Bowser from N64 was walking in his first boss battle, right? Stuff like that is cute, but it doesn't, again, it does not do a good job adding the depth into, like, to these characters or the world or whatever, right? Whatever is in the movie. And like I said, it's a kids movie, and people would argue, oh, it's a kids movie. It doesn't need to have deep storytelling. It's a kids movie, right? What does it matter? Well, I mean, take a look at movies like Toy Story. Look at the Sonic franchise now. Look at the Sonic movie franchise. Like, it's like almost like night and day when it comes to how much depth the main character has with Sonic and Tom. It's honestly, because I was watching Sonic 2 and Sonic 3, especially with Sonic 3. I like that movie, and it definitely had plenty of depth and all that stuff, like sadness and love and whatever. With Mario, it's almost watching this Mario movie very recently, I felt like almost made it worse for this movie, because so many other movies that are that happen to be friendly with kids can have a pretty deep storytelling for what it is. And take a look at Avatar. That's a whole lot of depth. Last Airbender, whole lot of depth. There's so much to explore in that world. But Mario, I don't know, it's just Mario, I guess. It's an hour and a half of just stuff happening, and it's just, I don't know, it didn't make me feel any different from what from when I started to the end, I guess. Now, that being said, of course, I wish for more of the Mario and Luigi being together, kind of like showing us what their relationship is like. You know, I think a lot of things could have been different. I think the point is though that kids movies can also have, or should be allowed to have, deeper storytelling, right? Something to be enjoyed by not only kids but the adults who are watching it with them. Why not? Why not have a movie for everybody, right? That's what Toy Story is. That's what the Sonic movies are. Why can't we have good visuals and good storytelling? And this is funny because I looked at the Angry Joe stuff when it comes to Mario again, and I saw the comment somewhere in there, and it says something about like, oh, this is a movie based off a video game franchise that literally does not have too much story to it. Again, why can't this movie have a good story then? I don't know. I don't know why that would be an excuse. Then make a good story. Then write a good one. Something with depth, something to make us think more about Mario, Luigi, and Peach and Bowser, whatever. So what? Like, because this game doesn't have a story, we're gonna just bleh, put glitter all over it, and that's it. No seasoning, no flavor, none. That's gonna be a shitty sandwich then, brother, or a shitty cake, bro. Oh my goodness, I don't know. It's that comment kind of got me going a little bit. It's okay, so what if it doesn't have no story? Then put a story in there. Okay, so I'm gonna start repeating myself. So, anyways, I think maybe this could be a start. Maybe the sequel will be a little better. Hopefully, I guarantee you this will get a sequel because by this point the movie made billions. It actually made it absolutely made money for sure. In fact, right here it says 1.361 billion dollars, which is quite a bit for a video game movie. And kind of sad because I think that is way more than the Sonic movies, if I'm not mistaken here. But anyway, the point is that this will get a sequel. But hopefully with that, they can like take the feedback and actually incorporate that into their next movie. But my personal request is actually to see a Luigi's Mansion type of movie. That would be pretty cool. I want to see the ghosts and such with that illumination touch to it, the zaniness. I think that would honestly work very well with that Luigi's Mansion sort of paint. But anywho, Super Mario Brothers, what score I would give it? With all that weighed in, visually it looked really good, but the story and such like that was very average, was very flat. Doesn't do a whole lot. It's not offensive. There's nothing like objectively bad by any means, but it does not dare to do anything else. The voice acting was alright. The music was odd overall. Yes, there were moments where the Mario soundtrack does chime in and really, it's nice. It's just nice to see. So everything else weighing in, I think this deserves from me a 6.5 out of 10, with five being the average on my scale. It does excel in the visual side of things, so that's above average there. But really is brought down is all the other important elements for a movie, which is the story, the dialogue, the humor, the depth, right? I did not come out watching this, entirely giddy. I just felt stale, if that makes sense. So I think that's what this movie kind of is in a way. It's kind of very stale. If this movie were to be like a burger, it looked really good on the poster. Like, oh my god, it looks so juicy, so tender, so just morsel. Like, just you want to get your hands on this burger. Perfect patty, the lettuce, the tomato, that little peak of ketchup and mayonnaise coming out, the cheese, right, melted, velvety, like onto the patty. The bun looks like it's full, bold, but fluffy and soft. But once you get your get your hands on it, it's like, oh, okay, it's a little tinier than I thought. And when you bite into it, it's like, oh, it actually lacks flavor. I mean, you get the minimal like patty taste, the meat taste, but it doesn't do a whole lot more than that. It's not a whole lot of that salt. No, there's no like garlic flavor or like nothing else. It's very minimal. It's a minimal product. It almost feels like it's like, all right, here's a Mario movie. Blah. There you go. There you go. Oh yeah, we'll throw in the celebrity voices. How about that? Wouldn't that make you happy? Well, you're gonna need to do a little more than that. But hey, it's Nintendo, so it made money. They're like that company where Nintendo can make anything essentially, and people will buy it. That's just kind of what Nintendo is kind of like. It's kind of like they're in this like top position privilege, if that makes sense. This is the same thing that's kind of happening with Genshin, because they're like the top gacha game. They are doing so minimal with the updates. It's like, okay, well, they'll give you a story, they'll give you this character, and that's it. They're not gonna do these like quality of life updates that people are asking for. No, they're just gonna put in the minimal effort, call it a day, and they still make money. Same thing here. It's just a minimal Mario movie with pretty visuals, but that's it. No storytelling, no actual, like exploration or risks they take with the writing. No, minimal product. Whoosh. $1 billion it made. But hey, it's Nintendo, man. It's because it's Nintendo. They'll eat it up. And I say this as someone who grew up with Nintendo and had this channel once upon a time really embellish and celebrate Nintendo, especially with the Wii stuff. So again, it's a 6.5 out of 10. Want to hear your guys' comments down below. Want to really hear them. And I think honestly this might be a pretty long video that doesn't really do didn't do spoilers, but I had a lot to say for this movie, a lot more than I thought. But maybe because I'm that much of a Nintendo fan person. All right, anyways, that's all I got from myself. Again, if you have any comments about the Super Mario Brothers movie, leave me down below. Do you agree, disagree? I'm more than welcome to have those discussions in the comment section. So anyways, thank you very much. This has been my movie review for the Super Mario Brothers movie. Maybe we'll get a sequel. Who the hell knows? Thank you very much, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Sean out.